It was 2 o'clock in the morning when an explosion impacted a Russian drone smashing into the 10th floor of an apartment block in the Romanian town of Galati, close to the Ukraine border, just 11 kilometres away. Romania scrambled 2 F-16 fighter jets and a helicopter and sent alerts to residents of the affected areas. 2 people injured. The apartment quickly evacuated. There are many questions and as much condemnation too from NATO countries and leaders. President Putin's crossed another line, said Ursula von der Leyen, the chief of the EU Commission and NATO Secretary General, calling it reckless behaviour, a danger to us all. We've heard from NATO's intelligence unit saying the origin was a Russian drone. We've heard from President Putin giving a press conference in the past hour or so, saying that it can't be determined where the drone was from. Let's speak to Romania's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Oana Toiu. Great to speak to you on the programme, Oana. First of all, your assessment of exactly what happened.
Thank you for having us. The President, together with the Minister of Defence and Interior, have visited today the location itself. We know quite clearly that it is a Russian drone, and I do have a clear message to Vladimir Putin, which is not only that we know it's a Russian drone, but we know that he knows. The number of drones that have been sent by Russia in the illegal war of aggression at our border in Ukraine is so high that by now experts are very clear on how to identify the design of the Russian drones. It was also carrying explosives that has been analyzed. And because the drone has crashed into a residential building in the city of Galati, there are also many instances of video footages from the citizens themselves as they saw the drone crash into the 10th floor of the apartment building. It is good news that the mother and child that were in that apartment are safe now. They needed medical care, but it is totally unacceptable and it's a totally irresponsible gesture from the Russian Federation. We are not a country part of the war. They have illegally entered our airspace and allied territory. We have taken clear decisions. We have assigned the General Consul from Russia as persona non grata. He has 72 hours to leave the Romanian territory. And also we have taken the decision not to allow for the General Consulate in Constanța to continue its activity.
Was this an accident? Was this Russia probing NATO territory? What's your assessment?
Our assessment is that it was Russia's decision to attack Ukrainian civilian infrastructure that is close to our border. So they do bear full responsibility on what is happening. Even if their target was on Ukrainian territory, it is still against international law, and it was reckless, and their recklessness has led to actual risks to our citizens, and the security of our citizens is our prime objective. That is why we are very clear on the fact that we do need to collectively increase the pressure that Russia is feeling through packages of sanctions, but also the lines that institutions are speaking of, the red lines that our partners are speaking of, need to be actually protected through better air defense mechanisms. We have allocated 2 billion euros on our own procurement in terms of air defense, but by that time those air defense mechanisms arrive from new suppliers, it is important that we do have a coordinated allied effort. And we did have these conversations with SACEUR. I've spoken with Secretary General Mark Rutte throughout the day, as has the President and the Minister of Defense as well.
So we've seen, as we're on air, you will have seen yourself as well, that NATO officials say they're assessing how to improve Romania's and NATO's defences against drone threats, to the point that you've just made a moment ago. Now take us back to 2 o'clock in the morning. Am I right to say F-35 jets, they were scrambled, but a decision was made not to shoot them down, the drone down?
F-16 jets were scrambled. We do have a procurement process for F-35s from the United States as well, and that is an ongoing process in terms of the delivery of F-35s to Romania that are already procured. The planes you mentioned did have the decision to shoot down the drone. The final decision lies within the pilot because they are the ones that can assess the actual risks on the ground. And if they use their capabilities would generate or not higher risks. Actually, a Romanian F-16 pilot was the one that shot down a drone in the Baltic airspace. And why do I mention that is because there the situation on the ground was different, but also because the solidarity we showed to each other, our common effort to protect the eastern flank, our common air policing missions are a very important element into ensuring our common security and safety. But there is also common knowledge, and not just from Romania, but from all countries on the eastern flank, that we do need new capabilities that are more modern and more fitted to face the risk of drones. And this has also been part of the conversation of the Bucharest 9 summit with Nordic allies in May in Bucharest.
We heard from a Romanian TV correspondent, an anchor earlier, and who'd covered NATO summits since the mid-90s. And he was talking about wanting to see battalions of US troops or NATO troops, and certainly more US commitment to your part of the world. Is that what you'd like to see?
I've spoken with US ambassadors throughout the day. Ambassador Whitaker at NATO had a very clear solidarity stance. Ambassador Darren Nirenberg, the US ambassador to Romania. And we have spoken about common efforts to support the air defense mechanism. That is our key priority now.
Tell me about Article 4, NATO's Article 4, which is the right to confer, the right to meet if you feel that territory is under threat. At this stage, have you triggered Article 4? Is that a consideration?
It is a consideration, but we haven't triggered today Article 4. We did, though, discuss about what is already planned, which is an allied conversation in the NATO format. This is something that Romania has proposed for some time now, and we're going to see it in the following days. It's a council conversation focused on maritime security, where we will add, of course, the capabilities discussion in terms of protecting the eastern flank. And we did have bilateral conversations throughout the day, especially with ministers of foreign affairs, and the defense line of dialogue is, of course, very active. And we do have commitments in terms of increased capabilities.
Now, as you pointed to earlier on, there has been threats to the Baltic states. There's been allegations of Russian GPS jamming, effectively switching off the GPS or turning Ukrainian drones towards the Baltics and Latvia, Estonia hit. It's the allegation coming from Kyiv. We also know, we've talked about in the past, mercurial President Trump and wavering suggestions over commitment to NATO. I believe you've had some commitment from a US official saying that they absolutely stand by Romania today. But my question to you is this: what do you do about President Putin? What should be done to make sure this doesn't happen again? It doesn't become mission creep.
Our message to President Putin is very clear. We do know it is a Russian drone. We do know that he does know it is a Russian drone. Even if it's a drone that lost its way from the initial target, it's still the responsibility of Russia not to have this reckless behavior. And in terms of what Russia is doing, we need to acknowledge the fact that they're also trying to push their own narratives, not just in Romania, but across many informational spaces and many countries. In our part of the world, in Romania and in Eastern Europe, we do have parts of our history where Russia had a huge influence before the 90s. That is also a lesson we have learned, and we will not allow them to manipulate the information space in the future. Again, they are not to be trusted.
Oana, I know this has been a long day for you today. Thank you for your time, Oana Suiu, the Romanian Minister of Foreign Affairs.